Hi guys, I am here today with another on-time arc review. This is wild and it's a little bit different because I've been doing a lot of the illustrated cover romance novels lately, and this is definitely a book with a side of kink. So I'm gonna say right up front, if that is not how you like your romance novels, this might not be the book for you. Today I will be talking about Katee Roberts' new book, Neon Gods. This is book 1 in the Dark Olympus series, and it is a Hades and Persephone retelling. For me, it is really hard to be better than Rachel Smythe's Lore Olympus webcomic series. That is the best Hades and Persephone telling that I've ever seen. But, you know, maybe you're looking for something a little bit darker and a little bit spicier. Have I got a book for you? So in this retelling, I have to talk about the world building because it's part of what makes this book really good, and it's part of what makes this book just kind of okay. So this is a really interesting take on the myth wherein Olympus is a real place, but it exists in a pseudo version of our Earth, obviously, because Olympus is not a real place here. And the gods of Olympus are either inherited roles or they are roles that can be like assigned to a person. So there is a Zeus, a Demeter, a Hades, but those roles aren't, they're not like gods. They have powers, but they're passed down. And if this is slightly confusing, it's because it really took me a while to also kind of understand what was going on with the world building, because like I said, some are hereditary and some are given and some are assigned. So I was like, what makes me? So that was just really confusing. But it was a really interesting take on the idea of the gods, and you know what? I was there for it. The main character is also kind of funny in this case because Persephone is the name of Persephone. She doesn't have a different name, and her mom has currently just won the office of Demeter. So her mom's name was not Demeter previously, but her name has always been Persephone, and she has a couple of sisters. So, I mean, that'd be how it goes. And at the time when the book starts, it is assumed that the title of Hades has totally gone extinct, because I guess that one was hereditary, and when the last Hades died, since it was hereditary, it couldn't be passed on to somebody else, I guess. Again, not really explained, but Persephone has for her entire life had a little bit of an obsession with the myth of Hades. And she really does not like the world of Olympus. What she wants to do is she wants to go and leave it, go to regular college, get out of this whole like crazy glitz and glamour and politics power playing that her mom has entered into. Her and her sisters just don't like it. But her mother enters into a wee bit of a power play without her knowledge, which is that Zeus, or the current Zeus, I should say, is currently looking for a new Hera. He has been married like 3 or 4 times, and his wives keep dying or disappearing. And no one's been able to get him for murder or accomplice to murder because, he's Zeus. The beginning of this book is that Demeter sells Persephone to Zeus, and Persephone goes to a party to find out in front of everyone that it's her engagement party, and she is not having it. So what she decides to do is literally make a run for it. There is like the high part of Olympus, and then there is the lower part of Olympus, and that is on the other side of the river Styx. And the river Styx is not under the control of Zeus. It's kind of where the poor and the peasantry are, I suppose you could say. And you're not supposed to cross the river. Well, Persephone just starts running, and she makes a run all the way across the river Styx. Apparently there's some kind of barrier that makes it almost impossible for her to get through, but at the last minute, a tall, dark, handsome stranger comes out and rescues her. Guess who that is? It's Hades. Come to find out, Hades is not extinct, except Zeus wanted him to be. Zeus killed the current Hades parents, so the dad who was Hades, and then also his mother, and the young Hades. Again, they don't give like given names at any point, so it's hard to differentiate, but he has been hanging out in his part of the kingdom and has a treaty with Zeus that says he will stay dead and Zeus will leave his people alone. So Persephone gets a little bit of a shock there. So Persephone comes up with this idea. She's like, hey Hades, you don't like Zeus, and I'm trying to escape Zeus's clutches. So if we enter into a romantic relationship, then Zeus will get mad because he won't want something that someone else has already very publicly had, and you'll get to stick it to him. And Hades is like, well, you know, it won't just work if we just pretend fake a relationship. We'll really have to prove that we are having sex. And it just turns out that this Hades is running a underworld sex club that is very into the public orgy thing, and he's like, yeah, this is, as long as you're okay with that, we can make this work. And she's like, huh? She's not as innocent as I'm making her sound. It's not one of those things where she's like, but I'm a virgin, which happens in these sometimes. She has had sex before, so, and she also is into this. She just kind of has to get used to the idea. But that transition was rather abrupt when they were like, yeah, this is just how we're gonna run this. But, you know, it's a romance novel, so what you gonna do? That's the other thing about this book, is that even though it's almost, and I checked, almost 400 pages according to Goodreads, it felt like it was almost novella length. The plot went so fast. It was kind of bizarre. And I felt like some things like the world building or the relationship just needed a few more, like, can we just have like 2 more conversations about this or something and it will feel a little bit more natural. So the pacing and the plot were a little clunky there. I did really like, however, the character of Hades. He is dark and broody because he spent most of his life alone, fearing for his life, and he has 2 friends who are the gods Dionysus and Hermes, and their interactions are really, really funny because he doesn't understand like how they became friends. Like, they just showed up at his house one day and we're like, hey, we are gonna party with you or hang out with you or eat the ice cream out of your freezer, and he's like, what? And then they just keep coming back. And so those interactions are really, really funny. Particularly the character of Hermes is really great. And it just ends up showing that like he's dark and broody with like a strong side of social awkwardness because he just hasn't interacted with a ton of people. Like I said, sex club, public sex, kink sex. If that is not what you're into, this is explicit, that kind of thing. You probably guessed that when I said Katee Roberts is what she is known for, but if you clicked on this because you saw Hades and Persephone retelling, that is what you need to know. All in all, I wouldn't say that it was a retelling that totally was like, I was like, oh yeah, this is my new favorite thing. But it had a really interesting world, and to a certain extent, I wish that I understood more of it, but it is going to be a series, and it is a series that I would potentially be interested in continuing just because I love the way that she is using the idea of the gods in this very different way. It's a little bit traditional, but a little bit new and interesting, and I really like that mix. She has already announced, and it already has a cover, the next book in this series, which according to Goodreads is due out in January of 2022. And this one is not another Hades and Persephone book. That story appears to be a standalone. This one is Eros and Psyche. So if you are into that, this will continue. I show you, like, you can see this is on my phone. You can. And then it does look like this series will continue after that. So I'm excited to just see more of this. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite Hades and Persephone retelling is. I have been trying to read more of them or watch videos on them, and I still haven't found anything quite as good as Lore Olympus, but maybe nothing is. Who knows? So let me know down in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.